What's cracklin', everybody? Welcome back once again to the Definitive Cereal Tier List, where each episode we take a cereal, put it on the tier list, so you know how good it is. I'm your host, Tucker. In this episode, we're doing this real long bag of Apple Zings. So obviously, this is the multi-meal take on the B-ranked Apple Jacks. I'm not quite sure how you get Zings from Jacks. Personally, I would have just really leaned into it and done like Apple Jills or something, but that's not what they did. So that's our main comparison. But more recently, we also did do the D-ranked Apple Jacks Caramel, which wasn't great. But again, no caramel in this one, so not a huge comparison. Just kind of worth noting other Apple Jacks like things we've done. All right, let's bust this long boy open. See what we got. Oh no. This does not go well at all. Dear, oh dear. Well, still should pour it from here. Very orange heavy in this one. Well, that tear will be fun to deal with later. This thing is deflated now. This looks so much sadder than when I started. There you go. It's a little better. But yeah, so pretty much just exactly like an Apple Jack. Nothing too shocking here. Might have gone a little heavy. Okay. Here we go. Okay, that initial taste, actually very reminiscent of Apple Jacks. I think just as I chewed it a bit more, it's a bit chalkier is not the right word, but sort of in that realm. That was sort of the main difference I saw there. And at the end, the piece does seem a little less like solid, crunchy. So it's kind of like an Apple Jack, but that initial bite says it is going to be a bit weaker. I think a better way to describe that sort of choppy thing I was talking about is the flavor is a bit more like powdery on it. So I think that's what it is. And that seems to be happening a lot with multi-meals. It's very much just like a powder on top instead of a bit more a part of the piece. So I think that's the best way to sort of say what that is. And it, again, as I sort of noted at the beginning, very orange heavy in here, which doesn't make a huge difference, I don't think, taste-wise or anything, but just kind of weird, not balanced like you'd expect. But yeah, this is still just kind of an Apple Jack, not quite, but you know, fairly close. I mentioned at the beginning that the Apple Zings pieces seem a bit sort of less sturdy than the Apple Jacks, and I think that holds true even as they solidified. Where Apple Jacks did sort of, get that loop cereal squishiness going on, and this is getting that, and it seems to happen a bit quicker and be a bit more present than I remember it with Apple Jacks. So, not a shock, because that has happened a few times with multi-meal stuff, so pretty in line, but yeah, I'm going to just end every time I talk by saying this is kind of like an Apple Jack, but not quite. All right, now we got a whole bunch of the red cinnamon dots just hanging out in the milk, so let's see what that's going to do. Yeah, that's there. And it's not it's, like Apple Jacks before it. It's not a sort of strong or warm cinnamon. It's like that sweeter cinnamon. So pretty into that. That's good time. Yeah, it seems almost a bit more like sweet sugarier than I remember Apple Jacks milk being, but that could be part of that whole sort of more powdery thing. But overall, I'd say pretty solid. This was pretty pleasant, so I think I'm actually kind of glad I got this real long bag. So I've already said this multiple times, but these pretty much are just slightly off Apple Jacks, and not even slightly off in the way that some of the other flavors have been off for Malt-O-Meals, like for some of the chocolate stuff, how that's like not quite right. This, I think, is pretty much the same flavor. It just texture-wise gets a bit different, and the piece, like, again, not quite as sturdy. So it's pretty close, but I don't think it's quite as good as a normal Applejack. So what I'm gonna do is give Apple Zings a C. Pretty much, if you want a lot of Apple Jacks, I think this is very much a safe bet. Like I've said that a few times with some of these Malt-O-Meals, where it's pretty much the reason to buy the Malt-O-Meal version is you just want a lot of it, and obviously in this case you are going to get a lot, and I think again the taste is pretty close, so you wouldn't be too disappointed by picking this up. But even though I do think it is pretty close to Apple Jacks, it doesn't feel like it's quite B material the same, so that's why it's going to end up just right below it. But again, I think still a pretty solid choice. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe, and in the comments below, post your general thoughts. Let me know if you've tried Apple Zings and if you're a big fan of them, and maybe if you like them more than Apple Jacks and the sort of powderiness of this worked a bit more for you, you can let me know. If you think that this is something that you're like a big Apple Jacks fan, and even though I think this is a close taste, if you did like a blind taste test, you could totally tell the difference, you can let me know about that too. But until next time, stay delicious.